Dr. J. Allen Hynek, chairman of the Department of Astronomy, a UFO investigator for the Air Force for the past 18 years. A sighting has been reported northwest of Chicago on April 15th at 7:30 in the evening. A number of people spoke of a strange light in the sky. Mrs. Victor Baumgart was traveling by car near her home. She described something with headlights that crossed the road and hovered over a field.
There was not one sound. I listened. I spent a lot of time, of the time I was watching it, listening. There was not a sound. In the second place, I have never seen an exhaust coming out of a jet that was colored this beautiful, brilliant white. There was not one hint of yellow in the exhaust at all. In the next place, hovering over something. I knew it was something I had never seen before.
Now, how did it differ from a bolide or a fireball, or a very, very bright meteor?
Have you ever seen a meteor with headlights?
No, I've never seen a meteor with headlights. But one might see meteors that look like it has headlights.
Well, however, I do not drink, and this had some kind of light on the back.
All right, good, fine. Now, but have you ever seen a real bolide?
I've seen them up high in the sky. I've never seen one close, no. Also, may I ask one question on a meteor? Don't you think it would be kind of unusual for a meteor to just fall across the road and hover over there a minute and then drop to the ground?
The coming over wouldn't be bad. The hovering that would bother me. This is why I wanted to know just how long it hovered.
Yes, well, it hovered too long to be a meteor. Mm-hmm. Excuse me for saying this.
No, all right. This is what I want to find out. What do you think it was?
I honestly was never a real believer in flying saucers. I believe if an intelligent person says that he has seen something and he has not been drinking and he's not out of his mind, that we ought to stop and listen.
A few miles to the southwest, another sighting of the same UFO. The Charles Welch family had been driving toward Barrington.
There was a ball of light with, which in the mind of a blowtorch with a greenish-blue tail to it. There were a few sparks coming off of it. And I sped to the corner, which we can see is very close to us. I turned around, stopped the car, rolled the window down, and by that time it had moved from the point where the first saw it to above the trees to our left, and then it went into a small cloud. Again, we spotted it as it came out of the cloud, and very shortly after that, it quickly disappeared.
A third sighting took place near a shopping center in Carpentersville. The witness, Richard Rohrer.
Mr. Rohrer, you saw an unusual sighting of some sort. Can you describe what it was, or describe what you saw?
Yes. Apparently it was an object. I don't know exactly what it was. It was a bright blue object. And
could I interrupt there? Yeah. Did you see an object, or did you see the light?
All I saw was the light.
I see.
All I saw, I'm considering this an object because I don't know what it was. It was a bright blue light, like a acetylene torch. It had a large body and it appeared to taper off. When I first sighted it, it was over in this direction here, and it traveled apparently on this side of the tower and went completely down to the end of the shopping center.
Well, you don't mean, or do you mean, that it came between the tower and you?
Yes, this is what I mean. It came on this side of the tower.
This side of the tower?
Right.
There were other witnesses in East Dundee, in Elgin, and further to the west. All saw the same object on the same date at the same time. Dr. Hynek gathered his data and looked for answers. The results of his investigation in a moment. What did they see in Barrington Hills on April 15, 1965? And what did they see on that country road and near the shopping center in Carpentersville? Dr. Hynek believes it was a bolide, a fireball, a meteor as bright as daylight.
We had the situation of many observers, Mrs. Baumgart, Mr. Welch, Mr. Rohrer, being separated by several miles, and observers west of Elgin, as far west as Durand, all of them saying that they saw it predominantly in an eastern direction. Now, if it had been extremely close to any one of them, it could not have been seen to the east by all of the people. That is, it had to be a fair distance away. And I think we can conclude that this particular sighting was a bolide. The very dramatic sighting made by Mrs. Crowley is a real puzzler, and I can't say and won't say that I have solved it or know the answer, yet a simple calculation shows that the setting moon was in virtually precisely the position of the sighting of the glow that Mrs. Crowley reported. And the puzzling thing that remains is simply that why didn't she see the moon, which was right smack in the place that the glow was? The case reported by Officer Joe Lukasak and his colleagues in Elmwood Park represents a good UFO, which simply means unidentified flying object. I would like, of course, to be able to explain it as a setting moon, but it would be almost preposterous to try to ascribe to the moon the erratic motions of the object as described and reported by Officer Joe Lukasak.